Clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Oh shit. No, not tech issues, just up and not even had time to get a Greg's. Anyway, in the morning, welcome to Daily PoliTITS. If you like politics, but are sick of the tits, then get your fix from the Daily PoliTITS. Something like that. Anyway, I'm going to obviously touch on the Nigel Farage stuff, but because the rumble's pish, I'm going to go straight to RT because it's the top of our news.
These are two choices. It's bad. Honestly, they both look like a disaster.
It was really hard to watch.
Sound familiar, anybody? What feel like Hulk Hogan?
That is our representation of leadership.
Feel like Hulk Hogan, man, like that. Same shit, different
with
country.
A devastating war if Tel Aviv decides to embark on full-scale military aggression against Lebanon's Hezbollah, as Israel says it's right to open another front.
Just when you thought the fucking World War III could get even better, man. We've got a new team in town, man. A new front.
Just around 11 in the morning here in Russia, and you're in Moscow, Russia, and you're watching RT International. I'm your host, Donald Corder. Welcome to the program. Now, our top story, Iranians have cast their ballots to elect a new president for the country.
It's a sham! It's fake!
Death of Abraham
it's almost as fake as the British and American elections.
The expected results to be announced on Saturday.
Melty Dwellington
all
boots?
the latest details in our special
or
coverage.
Roland Rats. Choose or die, slaves. There is no other option.
With over 19 million votes counted, reformist Masoud Pezeshkian is gaining over conservative Saeed Jalili in the Iranian presidential election. Polling stations.
I didn't know Nigel Farage had a fucking party.
Several extensions allowing all those ready and willing to cast their vote. If no candidate wins at least 50% plus one of the votes from all ballots cast, then the country will hold a runoff between the top two candidates. But to get more details on the elections right now, we're going to cross live to RT correspondent Mahdi Abbasian joining us from Tehran.
The weekend news
Mahdi, take us
cycles
through the
always
latest developments coming out of the Iranian capital right now.
It's different right now. Understand it because obviously it's got the weekend staff in and the weekend editors
I have to say that vote counting is still underway,
so it's like
and the final results are about to
and that's
be
why it's a good day for bad news.
A few hours.
You know, like the weekend is the best time to get shit out. You know, that you don't want to really, you want to try and get under the radar-ish kind of thing.
Reports of a 40% turnout by the 61 million
I'm sorry, RT, I don't give a flying
it seems that it's imminent that we will have a runoff election in Iran next Friday. Now, in this regard, we're joined by Mr. Mohammad Malandi, a professor at Tehran University and political analyst. Welcome to the show.
I heard that, Gigi.
Mr. Malandi, please tell us. It seems that,
but let's be honest, it wouldn't be the first time the talking heads have it wrong. They can't let.
Now,
seriously, they can't let them run.
The fact that there will be
if you let them run, they might as well just give it to Trump.
What are the expectations? What do you think?
I think what
I still stand by my Michelle Obama prediction.
Is that none of the candidates have enjoyed a great deal of support.
Who gives a flagging fuck? Why is RT covering this as if like you're speaking to an Iranian? An Iranian, even? Jesus Jones, man. Do you ever get that way when you're hungover and you just wake up with it? You cannot eat enough. The way I am this morning. Still looking for that dude. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out. That's not what I want.
David Willis, BBC News, Los Angeles.
It's not even it's like getting actually like... Did you hear that there, or is that... Am I hearing things? I'm hearing things. What, I heard somebody's voice over the top of that?
Live from London, this is BBC News. President Biden hits back after a poor debate performance against Donald Trump, telling supporters he will win November's election. Votes are being counted in Iran's presidential election, with a moderate reformist taking an early lead against 3 conservative hardliners. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage faces questions about racist language used by a canvasser to describe Rishi Sunak.
Did anybody watch that last night? Whoa! Fucking hell, man. Yeah! BBC Tech. Oh, fucking hell, the Sun's decided to make an appearance. The weather in this... the weather in the last few days has been hilarious, man.
President Biden has given a defiant speech at a rally in North Carolina, his first public appearance since his poor performance in Thursday's televised debate with his Republican opponent Donald Trump. At the campaign event in Raleigh, Mr. Biden said the US itself was at stake in November's election, calling his opponent a genuine threat to democracy, directly addressing concerns about his age. Mr.
Don't
Biden
vote
told
for
Raleigh
him,
he'd
because
been knocked down,
voting for somebody is a threat
still
to
alarm
democracy.
In Democrat circles at his rambling during the debate. Here's our North America correspondent, David Willis.
Fired up by a faithful crowd, Joe Biden took to the
stage.
stage.
Hold on a wee second. Did he just
North Carolina.
try and
He'd
move
been
there?
knocked down, but would get back up.
Did he try and
But
go
there's
out
still
there and
alarm
miss
in
that?
Democrat circles at his rambling during the debate. Here's our North America correspondent, David Willis.
Fired up by a faithful crowd, Joe Biden took to the stage in the swing state of North Carolina, seemingly unfazed by the torrent of bad headlines his disjointed debate performance had generated.
Right. See in the comment box there, Snowy Owl, this is an example of random people that turn up. I'm censoring you, Snowy Owl. Fuck off and find some fucking vag cock boys to go and spread your filth. You fucking little fucking wronging. I don't even know if it's a real person. Fuck knows. Somebody sitting in the Nigel Farage fucking headquarters. Anything that says anything about Nigel Farage, get there, tell people to vote reform and all that. Fuck off. See if you want to vote reform. What the fuck are you doing on my channel? Are you fucking retarded? Are you a fucking Celtic fan that goes to a Rangers supporters club? Or a Rangers fan that goes to a Celtic shop? Are you fucking right? Are you backward? If you're saying vote reform, that's because you're retarded, you fucking dumb fuck. Why don't you just go down and start gobbling off all the City of London bankers? You little fadge cockboy. This is an example of exactly what I'm talking about. And watch this. All the Tommy Tards and communists done the same. I don't know if it's just a computer and they go like, boom, 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 and set it on fucking auto, or whether it's just bah, bah. All the fucking Tommy Tards, communists, the Windy Lickers, Nigel Farage cock boys, just want to, they're trying to spam the fucking social medias and online with pro-reform pish. Like, I remember back in the day, man, and some old fucking backward, bigoted little England retards fell out on me because of this. Because I didn't stuck on the cock of UKIP. You know, I like Bigfoot and UFOs and Nigel Farage. Fucking hell, man. Grow a fucking spine, grow a fucking brain, know what way is fucking up. fucking retards, man. Look at the state of them. Hold on, right, let's go to the guy's channel. Let's even see, look, fuck, 33 subscribers, fuck all on his channel, more about this channel, 2 days old or something. Oh no, actually. So maybe just a genuine, bona fide old Nigel Farage cockboy. So fuck off. Yous are not welcome on my channel. This is a dictatorship and I will kick your fucking asses out like yous want to do to the brown motherfuckers. Right? Get it? Got it? Good, you vag fucking retards. Fuck off and waste somebody else's time. Although it does give me the energy to vent, man. 33 subscribers. But anyway, that's enough for that. Let's get back to Mr. Magoo.
Folks, I don't work as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't...
What? Nigga, what? You're a mumbling bitch.
debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
He seemed for all the world like a new man, reading from the teleprompter with a passion that had been all too absent the night before.
I know like millions of Americans know.
Remember, if you're not a Nigel Farage cockboy, or even if you are, but you appreciate the Daily PoliTITS, stick a wee thumbs up, share it with your friends, family, and foes.
When you get knocked down, you get back up.
It was a far cry from the rasping and rambling performance on the debate stage
vacant, didn't he?
that was
really
all too often painful to watch.
Everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
It's left his party in a state of crisis, yet despite rumblings about replacing their candidates, publicly at least, Democrats are circling the wagons, referring to his own lackluster performance in a presidential debate in 2012. Joe Biden's former boss Barack Obama tweeted,
he struggled to hold Mr. Trump accountable for his lies, his failures, and his chilling plans. More than once, he struggled to make it to the end of a sentence.
The Rockley player is
mainstream media outlets are admitting the debate was a disaster for the incumbent president, with headlines screaming for him to bow out of the race. A complete U-turn from earlier calls defending his mental capacities.
And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket.
If you're concerned about Joe Biden's age, you probably don't know Joe Biden.
Biden is actually in good shape. And now they're in a, I won't say a full-fledged panic, but it's getting there.
There's a full-on panic tonight.
Right. Mentally, he's quite acute.
Oh, it's my fucking trick. RT pricks.
See this. The gears of his mind are working.
Comparing fucking peddlers of bullshit side by side.
And Biden purportedly having cognitive issues.
It's not just making an issue of Biden's age. It's lying. It's saying he's senile. It's saying he's demented.
As the calls for Biden to quit grow louder, the mainstream media is looking into potential replacements. Vice President Kamala Harris appears the most obvious replacement, but she herself has got competition. Bad news for the Democrats is that whoever may replace the party's nominee will likely still lag behind Trump. And several polls back that up. A Fox News survey concluded that Biden's most popular replacement would be Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. In fact, most Democrat voting respondents said that the current president would actually be the least favorable candidate in the batch going forward. Meanwhile, independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sees the Trump-Biden debate as a momentum boost for his third-party campaign. He says that the nation is weary of picking between the lesser of two evils. In his view, democracy should elevate the cream of the crop, but this debate has unfortunately shown otherwise. This sentiment seems to resonate with many media commentators and disheartened voters alike.
I think a lot of people just are in denial that these are the two candidates again running for president. We just, including myself, we just have not actually internalized and accepted.
These are two choices. It's bad. You know, I would have liked to see them answer the questions more because they just we're like, you're worse,
Now,
and you're worse. It's
when
like,
I speak
hey,
to
we know you're
people,
both bad.
they're
Tell us why
either
you're
not
good.
voting or they're
So,
going to spoil
honestly,
the
they both look
ballot.
like a
See, there's
disaster,
spoiling your
to be honest.
ballot. It's still creating a
seem like
social contract
two toddlers
between
kinda
you
going
and the
at it.
government. So it
I
doesn't
think it's
matter
a
who gets
national
in.
embarrassment that
They've
that
got your
is our
consent.
representation of leadership,
Because you've consented
especially
to
what
the
they
voting
both have done,
process, which
even
puts the
more
winner
of
in
an
place.
embarrassment, but
You're not consenting
it
to
is
X,
a
Y,
sad
or
day
Z.
for America.
So why
It
play
was
the
really
fucking
hard to
game?
watch.
Why give them your
Like, I
power?
wanted to turn it
Why
off almost
consent
immediately.
to
My
something
reaction was just
you
a lot of
fucking hate?
sadness. I think we have
Like the political
not good
class?
choices.
The pulse
Absolutely,
of the Muslim
that's what
community
we're.
has been,
If I was to do the French
especially over the
Revolution in this
last
country,
around 8
that's who would get the
months,
guillotine,
that
man.
we
The
had
political
two not so
fucking
great options.
snotty-nosed fucking
We spoke with
class.
political scientist Glenn Deason, who says that the options voters have for president do the country a disservice.
Well, I don't think it was much of a debate. There were two candidates who for 90 minutes exchanged insults and talking points which had been rehearsed in advance. So I don't think it was a good look for the United States, and it did leave me with some sense of an empire in terminal decline. I would say that the election was between two deeply flawed candidates. And most people probably ask themselves why the US couldn't produce any other candidates which would be better. And I think the answer is that meritocracy is obviously undermined by the corruption of the political system and also very dishonest media.
I'm going to stab in the dark. RT aren't going to touch on any of the negative press that Nigel Farage and Reform are getting right now. I'm just, maybe I'm wrong.
Room for criticism
maybe
of one's
I'm
own
wrong.
candidate. And this
I've
tends
not
to
watched
result
RT
in
yet this
corruption
morning. I
really
don't know.
festering
But I'm
itself
stabbing
in the system
in the dark.
and therefore not being addressed. Now, in terms of which side won, I think all data so far shows that Trump won, which is why there's now a huge panic in the Democratic Party. So I also think it was a predictable disaster for Biden, who is obviously in cognitive decline. And it will be very difficult for Biden to recover from this debate. It's unclear, if the Democrats will put him on stage again or seek to replace him. So I guess this sad excuse for a debate could also result in more people looking towards third-party candidates such as Kennedy.
A few hours after the showdown, and Joe Biden returned to his re-election campaign trail in North Carolina. In an apparent display of damage control, the American leader claimed that while he's not as snappy as he used to be, he is at least honest, unlike his Republican rival. The Democrat also defended the nation's economic record under his presidency.
Today, we have the strongest economy in the world without exception. 15 million new jobs. 800,000 manufacturing jobs. Unemployment under 4% for a record 2 years in a row. Historic Black and Hispanic unemployment down.
But some leading financial analysts beg to differ. The International Monetary Fund has stated that the U.S. government's handling of the economy creates serious problems, not just for Washington, but the entire world.
High deficits and debt create a growing risk for the US and the global economy, potentially feeding into higher fiscal financing costs. The ongoing expansion of trade restrictions and insufficient progress in addressing the vulnerabilities pose important downside risks.
Left a bit.
The IMF also questioned the intensifying of U.S. trade barriers, saying the U.S. economy could bear the brunt of such practices.
I think that's a really good,
income tax increases
accurate
and
description
of the benefit system, such as welfare
monetary
and
system.
the Medicare program. The country's national debt, which measures what the U.S. owes its creditors, has ballooned to a record $34.4 trillion. Mark Humphrey is an associate professor of finance at the University of New South Wales Business School, and he says that the U.S. deficit is growing, and neither presidential candidate is likely to change that.
So RT...
Basically, we're talking trillions of dollars.
What the fuck is that?
Ongoing, which is just going to add to the debt stockpile because if you're running a deficit...
I seriously thought that was a fucking lesbian there for a second.
Now, neither party is really going to get this under control, but we've got different ideological ways to tackle it. Joe Biden basically wants to
he
keep
looks
his
like a
taxes,
cartoon character or
which
something, doesn't he?
has some downsides with it.
Why is
Some
he look so
downsides in terms
fucking
of
strange?
companies' desirability
Because
to
he
go
looks
out
like
and
a
work
2-year-old
harder
and
or
he's
generate
trying to
more
fucking
growth.
make himself look.
i.e., if there are more taxes that are going to be generated, those companies are potentially going to have.
I don't know what it is. He makes my skin crawl. I'm sorry. Each to their own and all that jazz. What the fuck is wrong with that cunt? I'm pretty sure that quite a lot of folks say the exact same about me, but I don't listen. Hey, up a bit.
20% is
down a bit.
Is that if company taxes go down, companies will generate more growth.
Left a bit.
When companies generate more growth, they are paying more taxes in dollar terms, and
boom,
also they're
and your
employing
money's
more
gone.
people on higher wages.
Please come again.
Paying higher taxes. So we've got two different approaches here. Neither is really going to significantly tackle the spending
Lewis
issue.
Goodall's
It's not
brother.
great news really for anywhere else, because when the US debt is ballooning, well, the US then both A, faces some...
Right, come on, fuck, man. That's boring as sin as well. Fuck's sake.
Debate nights happen. Trust me, I know. But this election is still a choice
Scouring
between
the whole
someone who
world
has
for
fought
negative
ordinary
fucking
folks
press
his entire
against
life
fucking
and
the
someone
West.
who only cares about himself.
Yes, and let's not forget as well, that's
Despite
pro
being
Trump
just
shit.
3
What you
years
were just
younger
listening
than
to
Joe
there.
Biden, Donald Trump has
Make
consistently
no mistake
condemned
about
his
it.
rival as too old to be re-elected. But addressing supporters in Virginia,
Basically
he said the
telling you how
question was
stinky
less one of
Biden's
age and more
regime
one of
is.
competence.
And how
The question
much
every
they've fucked up
voter
the
should be asking
economy.
themselves today is not whether Joe Biden can survive a 90-minute debate performance, but whether America can survive 4 more years of crooked Joe Biden in the White House.
Oh, he's using the...
And the calls...
What was it he used to call Hillary Clinton? Crooked Hillary, wasn't it? So he's regurgitating that shit.
For Joe Biden to pull out of the presidential race are growing. This, the headline in an editorial in the New York Times, which goes on to declare Mr. Biden is not the man he was 4 years ago.
I don't think so.
The word from the Biden camp is that their candidate has no intention whatsoever of pulling out of the race. But much may depend on how he fares going forward and what the opinion polls make of his debate performance. David Willis, BBC News, Los Angeles.
He's a fucking laughing stock in the world, man.
Votes are being counted in Iran's snap presidential
Opinion
election brought
polls.
about by last month's helicopter
Turn on
crash in
face
which
bag, you
then
dumb
President
fucks.
Ibrahim Raisi was killed.
On
The more
Twitter.
moderate contender Masoud
He's a
Pezeshkian,
laughing
a
stock,
heart surgeon,
even
has
amongst
widened
his
his
own.
lead to more than 1 million votes, with 42% of votes counted. One of the hardline Islamic candidates, Saeed Jalili.
See the other day when I was going to the gym, sitting on the bus, up the back of the bus, and it was up towards Glasgow University. And no word of a lie, a clown got on. This lassie in fucking full clown outfit, man. Rosy cheeks, red nose, wig. And she got on with a dude who was dressed normally. I was thinking they must have been to clown college. I'm not even making that up. It was fucking hilarious, man. Like, if I had... Well, I should have asked her for a picture.
Did take an early lead, but has now dropped back. The 4 candidates were all vetted by an influential committee of clerics before they could stand. Turnout has been exceptionally low, raising questions about the legitimacy of Iran's system of government.
Boom! Boom! See what they said there? Okay. All candidates in the UK election have had to swear an oath of allegiance to the king and his kin. Right? What was the other fucking point she made, which was exactly the same? Oh, turnout is drastically low. The fucking last local elections, the highest turnout I could find was 40%. Most of them were under that. Come this general election, if you go and dip your finger, if you stay away from licking windies for a second and go and speak to people in the real world, you'll find they can't fucking get anybody to vote for. They all think, everybody, this isn't conspirator land. This is real world people. People are sick of it. If they do vote, they're going to vote their tribalism 9 times out of 10. or they're fucking in the Tommyist party and they're going to vote for reform. Or Nigel Farage, because he said something good once in a YouTube clip. So, let's see the turnout of this one. That's why I want to drive the turnout of this fucking... That's what they said there is my argument. Get the turnout so fucking low that they can't stand in front of you and say, we run the show. Hold on a second. You don't represent any cunt. You're a political class that are fucking self-serving. Your heads are up your fucking ass. You've got no clue about the real fucking world or the working people, not working class, that the vast make up the vast majority of this fucking country, and yous have no Scooby fucking do. So there's my argument. That's the argument I'm going to be making come this election, when I hold my own election. Why turn out for a fucking political class that don't serve any cunt bar themselves? Oh, and the corporations, they're fucking people that they make money for. Stocks, shares, insider fucking trading, insider information, do you know what I mean? Them having the heads up about a wee percentage there, a wee 0.5% there, a wee 1/4% there, when it comes to the Chancellor's fucking red box pish. People can make billions off of that. Billions! Anyway,
Well, let's now talk to Siavash Ardalan from BBC Persian. So, Siavash, what's the very latest with the figures?
So this looks like an upset with the pro-reform candidate, the moderate candidate Masoud Pezeshkian, leading now with 19 million votes having been counted. He got 8 million so far, and the hard right candidate Saeed Jalili has 8 million. The surprise in this election was that it was thought that the center-right candidate,
when they're covering
Mohammed
the UK
Bagheri,
election and
the
stuff, they
mayor
go,
of Tehran,
all candidates have swore an oath of allegiance to the king and his king.
That turned out to be completely false.
And
the other assumption was that if
the turnout in elections in the UK is fucking pathetic.
Jalili, the hard-right candidate, might steam ahead of the pro-reform candidate Masoud Pezeshkian.
At best,
but so far, that
4 in
doesn't
10
seem to be
people
the case, and the
turned
reformist
out
camp,
for the last
having been
round of
marginalized
elections.
and alienated by hardliners in the past, are poising to celebrate.
Turnout has been low. Is that due to
We are
people making a
ruled
political stance, or is it
by a
apathy?
minority within a minority
stance. Iran at its height
of a political class.
Participation,
That's
political
who
participation
runs
saw,
the fucking show.
People going out
and
they
bamboozle us by bullshit to think otherwise.
But now,
and if you roll up and vote,
freedom movement 2
whether
years
it be
ago,
Nigel Farage, man of the people,
and also the fact that Guardian Council, that very influential body appointed by the Supreme Leader who vets candidates, almost vetted all the other candidates who might seem to be too critical or disloyal to the system. A lot of people thought that it's best to stay away, and by staying away and not voting, really express their protest and dissatisfaction with the current political system.
Siavash, thank you very much. Well, let's now take a closer look at the leading contenders. Reformist candidate Masoud Pezeshkian is a former heart surgeon and health minister. He's faithful to Iran's ruling clerics, but supports ties with the West, as well as economic reform. He's also said the actions of Iran's morality police, who enforce strict dress codes on women, are immoral. Among the Conservative candidates is hardliner Saeed Jalili. He's a former secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council and a former nuclear negotiator. He served for 4 years in Ayatollah Khamenei's office. Jalili was opposed to Iran's 2015 nuclear deal and to striking deals with the West. Let's speak now to Rusbe Parsi in Stockholm. He's the head of the Middle East programme at the Swedish Institute of International Affairs.
Let's go to the meat of the pudding and watch a wee bit of the... I thought the BBC would have touched on the Vag stuff. It was very in... Oh, look, there's... I strangely find her very attractive, man. Right, let's... Let's go to this. Is from the BBC, but obviously a wee snippet.
Good evening. Nigel Farage has faced repeated questions from a BBC audience about the racist language used by a canvasser for Reform UK about Rishi Sunak. Mr Farage refused to apologise, saying it was a set-up and a deliberate attempt to smear his party. Mr Sunak, who is of Indian...
Well, Space Force, I hear what you're saying. People are terrified of being cancelled and all that jazz, right? Here's me. I've never held back about what I fucking say. 12 years on this channel. Granted, more recently I've been getting kicked off fucking tickety talk left, right and centre. And that was because I'm mentioning Tommy Robinson's name. So, make it up what you will. And that's how toxic his name is. But I've been able to communicate everything that I want on this YouTube channel. Just knowing, like, I'm not a doctor. Like, I'm genuinely not a doctor. So I don't dish out fucking health information. Or act like I fucking know. Each to their own. Everybody make up their own. And I'm damn no too shabby, mate. But I get you. TikTok are fucking scandal. Mate, see the fucked up thing is, right? You can get 1,001 dead Palestinian babies in a clip, no problem at all. And then mention Tommy Robinson's name and boom, they kick you off, man. And the weird thing is, right, because I was experimenting to figure out the lay of the land. So I put one up with Tommy Robinson's name in the title, boom, took down community guidelines, appeal rejected. Put the same clip up again with no title, stayed up, no problem at all. Now, it's obvious what's happening there, you know, they've scanned the fucking title, seen it's his name, put it against a database of fucking toxic little rats. and banned the clip. Anyway, let's get to the Farage. Are you a fan of the Farage?
said the language made him hurt and angry and that Nigel Farage had questions to answer. The racist comments were secretly filmed and then broadcast by Channel 4 while activists were campaigning for Reform UK in Clacton, where Mr Farage...
Man, this is making people militant, man. And it's like Trump derangement syndrome over here, but it's with Farage. You know, anybody says a bad word about this guy, any point ever, about anything, and boom, you're in a deep state, Illuminati, conspiracy, and it's a cult. The Reform, who knows the Reform? I can hardly even remember its name. I keep calling it Response. It's a Nigel Farage cult. It's a cult of personality. He done it with UKIP. Now he's taken the UKIP supporters with him. Thus, conspiratard land is all going with him as well. I like Bigfoot, UFOs and Nigel Farage. What a good trick. What a good trick. Like Trump telling... did he tell Alex Jones this or did he just blurt it out? And Alex Jones repeated it. But he came out and says, if I get elected president, first time round obviously, I'll find out who killed JFK, and then what was the other one, and who done 9/11. And he promised that to all the conspirators, fucking cunts gobbled it up, blah, 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 big Trump jobby supper, blah, 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 blah. And do you know who killed JFK yet? Did Trump tell us? What about 9/11? Is anybody near the wiser as to what actually genuinely went on there? And remember, if you want to hide the truth, all you do is need to go and shit all over it. And then nobody knows what way's up. You remember, in some people's heads, it's true that Tommy Robinson was arrested for eating breakfast. Yes, folks, that is a genuine truth in some Tommy Tards, communists' heads, which, no doubt, support Nigel Farage, investment banker, bitch of the city of London. Man of the people, because you seen him drinking a pint and smoking a fag. Parlour's tricks, man. Parlour fucking tricks. He didn't get there because of his beliefs. He got there because he's got such charisma. He can hold a crowd. He's fucking sharp as a tack. You know? Just like Hitler.
Farage is standing. Our political correspondent Joe Pike is in Westminster.
All right, unicorn.
Joe.
Rita, Nigel Farage's surprise entry into this election revitalised, re-energised reform and seemed to give them a poll boost as well. But as we saw from the question time leaders special tonight,
man, I'll be honest.
That drip of constant
spam.
Allegations concerning first candidates and now campaigners does seem to be having an impact. Not just on Mr. Farage's own team, I detected a certain nervousness there, but also, as we saw this evening, he seemed to be disowning some of his own candidates live on air. And a warning, my
clip's just turning into a big sounding board for fucking how big Nigel Farage's cock is.
Welcome the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage.
He's attempting a fight back as his party is hit with yet more accusations of racism.
What is it about you and your party that attracts racists and extremists, whether you say you want them or not?
I've done more.
Well, it'd be our anti-brown man in boats policies, our bowing down to Little England, which extends beyond the borders of England, and playing on people's tribalism, small-minded ignorance. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was in the pub, sipping a beer, smoking a fag.
I've done more to drive the far right out of British politics than anybody else alive. I took on the BNP.
Did he say he took over the BNP? Did he say he took over the BNP? So, let's think. What came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the BNP or UKIP? Just saying. And again, I wish I could find this fucking clip, and if anybody can, let me know. It was a panorama documentary on the BBC's about Jim Dawson. They were doing a fucking hit piece on all the money men behind the far right and stuff, and they're talking about Jim Dawson as being one of the main money men and main players behind the whole apparatus. This guy's a marketing genius, right? And it's not beyond the realms of possibility to sit there as the internet's exploding and going like that, right? How can we spread this shit like BNP light? How can we get our policies in place by the back door? I mean, like, are people blinkered to this shit? They're willing to believe that Tony Blair's a war criminal and this and that and a liar and shit like that. Then Nigel Farage bounces up. Tommy Robinson bounces up. Oh, they're telling the truth.
Just over a decade ago, I said to their voters, if this is a protest vote, but you...
Listen to this. He said to the BNP voters, vote for me. Nigel Farage took over the BNP. Nigel Farage took over the BNP.
Don't support their racist agenda. Don't vote for them. Vote for me. And we destroyed them.
Asked live on air about reform candidates who've made offensive comments, Mr Farage seemed to dismiss those standing.
I inherited a start-up party. Remember, I've been doing this...
Why are they still standing as your candidates?
Well, they're not. They've been disowned. In most cases, they've been disowned.
But now it's not just candidates, but campaigners that have been causing problems. One seeing a pride flag on a police car implied gay people were paedophiles.
You see that degenerate flag on the front bonnet? What the old Bill doing promoting that crap? He's about catching nonsense, not promoting the
Another suggested the army should shoot illegal immigrants.
With guns on
beach target practice. Just show them.
And he used a racist slur to describe.
Now, if you followed Labour, SNP, Lib Dem, Conservative, etc., people around long enough and filmed them, you would catch people saying the most stupid, retarded shit ever. But this doesn't surprise me.
Describe Rishi Sunak.
We got him. What's good is he? You tell me.
Oh my God! Look, they've blotted out the word "packy." Making sure that wasn't a walk, a march. I can't figure it if that's an orange walk or whatnot. I don't know, we need to Google it later.
It's just wet.
Andrew Parker said he'd
Coming
not
into the
told
season.
Nigel Farage about his views and apologised if he'd brought reform into disrepute.
When my two daughters have to see and hear reform people who campaign for Nigel Farage calling me an effing it hurts and it makes me angry, and I think he has some questions to answer. And I don't repeat those words lightly. You know, I do so deliberately.
What if I call you a Turbinator? He's Indian, isn't he?
Because this is too important not to call out clearly for what it is.
Earlier today, we caught up with the Reform leader.
Hi, Nigel. How are you doing?
And he seemed keen to focus on one of the campaigners who he claims was acting.
From the moment he arrived in the office at Clacton last Saturday and he bowled up and spoke to me, he was rough speaking.
You think he was faking it?
He was acting from the moment he came into the office. I 100% believe this whole thing is a total setup.
Andrew Parker has told us tonight he doesn't want to comment. He has done some acting in the past, but today we found no evidence he was acting in the covert recording. Channel 4 News have said, "We strongly stand by our rigorous and duly impartial journalism, which speaks for itself."
When the news
We met
makes
Mr Parker
news,
for the
innit?
first time at Reform UK.
It makes you realise they're not really the news. They're the editors, they're the spin artists. Sucking in information and spinning it their way.
Party
If
headquarters,
not creating it,
where he was a Reform Party
maybe
canvasser.
at some point.
We did not pay the Reform UK canvasser or anyone else in this report. Mr Parker was not known to Channel 4 News and was filmed covertly via the undercover operation.
Nigel Farage has been trying to get here for decades, but he and his team know the distractions of the past couple of
The
days
truth
have
is
the
gone,
potential
man.
to damage their
You know,
campaign at precisely the moment
for
when
Nigel
many voting
Farage,
voters
boy
are
and girls,
finally
it's
making
a
up their
setup.
minds.
And for
that's the future that I
Farage people,
I'm afraid I have to
it
cut you
was
off there,
just
Nigel, forgive me.
He has survived many similar
the
storms
biggest sitter
before.
in the party,
Will
of the
Nigel
party.
Farage weather this one, or will it do damage to his party next week? Joe Pike, BBC News.
And Adrian Ramsey, the co-leader of the Green Party, appeared on the BBC's Question Time Leaders Special tonight, where he was asked about the day-to-day cost of the party's plans to combat climate change in, for example, transport.
I think most people want to do the greener option.
I think, oh, fucking hell, man. Maybe that's the booze starting to wear off. Proper Channel 4 propaganda machine. Definitely looking, well, I was definitely, but through watching it for fucking more or less all my life, so probably about 35 fucking years, something like that. It definitely, in perspective, has a left-leaning side towards politics. There is no doubt in my mind. I don't know why people act so fucking shocked at stuff like that. Right, let me get this right. There's the entertainment industry. You could call it modern day theatre. And it's full of fairies and left-leaning people. Fuck, what's happened? I have no fucking idea. I don't know. Go to any school before kids are indoctrinated into politics, which is probably fucking a thing of the past now, and go and look at a drama class or something. Fairies and left-leaning people, funnily enough. Fuck's sake. I mean, it's no rocket science. It's no a conspiracy by left-wingists. Just that's what fucking left-wing leaning fairies gravitate towards. It's not fucking... Hello, McFly! But again, it's all about spin, not news, not journalism. Tommy Robinson's mob will spin that as some sort of a left-wing, gay, fucking trans fucking agenda to come in the tranny apocalypse. When it's not, man. It's not. It's just fucking the way of the world. I mean, go to a fucking football stadium, man. The amount of gay and trannies you could find are fucking probably minimum. You know what I mean? It's just the way of the fucking world, man. People can go and do what they fucking want. And people that fucking are on the gay side of things or on the left side of politics gravitate towards fucking ballet dancing and prancing around on stage. What's wrong with that? Fucking it's been that since time immemorial, fucking motherfuckers. But now, because of the internet, it gets used to sell you the tranny apocalypse brought to you by Tommy Robinson. Anytime there's a fucking rainbow flag, people are wetting their fucking knickers. Like that. Who's the poof here? The fucking people flying the flag? Or are you fucking little fucking girl getting a rip in your tights and wetting your knickers over a fucking flag? You fucking poof. Anyway. Run over.
But the greener option's got to be the cheaper,
I just
more
see things
convenient option
differently,
as
man.
well.
What can I
How would
say?
you make it cheaper?
Well,
That's
at the
just what I'm
moment, there are
wondering.
huge subsidies that go into the aviation industry, whilst we have some of the most expensive rail prices in Europe. And so one of the things we would do is to bring the railways back into public...
This is better than BBC Fact Check. This is called Clips Google Check, right? So, let's see. Channel 4 getting investigated. That's interesting, buddy. Well, mate, it's not reported on the news. And I've done my deep research. That's right. I googled it. It's the internet, motherfuckers. David, drop any links or whatever you've got, man. Because I'm fairly certain it'll come out that this wasn't a setup. I mean, listen to the comments. Who the fuck am I? How the fuck would I know? There's a dog in the fight to run down Farage, but today at this point wouldn't really make much sense, because I'm pretty sure what Labour are wanting right now is reform to get as big. So it would have been the Conservatives, so Conservatives are trying to take a hit out of them. But it's politics, and in the modern age, there is probably never no way of knowing the truth unless you're actually at the centre of it. You know, it was a proper setup. Check out Hope Not Hate. I know these things go on, Luton. I know these things definitely go on, right? And it was a setup in the sense that they obviously had a undercover and a reporter following these dudes around. If they were reform volunteers, well, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility to find a couple of fucking Tommy Robinson crackpots amongst them. But time will tell. Time will tell. You know, they gave the Bible up years ago. See, here's another thing, right? Well, here's another thing I can rant about for a wee bit. Gay people that have like fought to get married in a church, you're like, why do you want to be part of a fucking club that have excluded you or your kind or that are gays for fucking a very long time? Why don't you just go and start up a gay church? You know what I mean? It would be equally as viable. You don't need like a straight guy to tell you fucking, I can speak to God. Humana, 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 la 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 fucking. Anyway, let's see if we can get
like
some
ownership,
news.
which I think people would really like to see.
Yes, and if anybody has ever heard a man vagina speak, that's what they sound like. Him and the Lib Dems. They try to put on a voice that's like, it's like, oh, I've got a mangina. I'm so loving and caring, and my voice, can you not hear it? I'm so, oh, rock a baby on a tree. Pisses me off, man. Where's your fucking cojones? Church of the Batty Gay Saints. I'm being genuinely serious. It's like women that moan to get allowed into gentlemen only clubs. Like, fuck you, man. Go and start up a bitch only club. Fucking stop. Everybody should be able to have a fucking club with their own rules, I think. No matter how stupid the rules are. AKA religion. Should be, if religion's allowed, men only clubs should be allowed. And we need to start a gay church. I guarantee there is a gay church actually somewhere. Yeah, we are Virgin, the Mary Mother, Virginia, motherland. Mary was a virgin. We all know it. Okay, let's see where RT's at. Oh,
to contribute. This is all the more unacceptable as they already contribute massively to supporting
Caledonian.
The industry. That's a lot.
Scotland,
and yet the commitments required of manufacturers are non-existent.
Add all this to Team Macron's efforts to mess with New Caledonian elections by legislating the addition of thousands more voters to the electoral rolls to dilute the native Kanak vote effectively.
Take me
and
home.
All of that, of course, resulted in protests.
He's always there to set things ablaze, because for the moment it was he who started the civil war in New Caledonia by having the people he caught there deported to the penal colony in France.
On the domestic front, Macron isn't really seen as a big winner on security and immigration issues, another top two topics for French voters in this election. When a French cop allegedly shot and killed a 17-year-old French teenager of Moroccan and Algerian descent at point-blank range in a Parisian suburb last summer for failing to abide by a traffic stop, some of the beneficiaries of Macron's open-mindedness on the domestic policy front were triggered, sparking about 5,000 barbecues all over France and the usual scenery chewing of buildings, cop shops, and even police themselves. When the Interior Ministry reports that 700 cops were hurt, it's probably a pretty reliable indication that you've basically lost control. And the number one issue for French voters, overwhelmingly, is the Macron economy. He's cheered on Brussels sending French energy prices soaring to impress his girlfriend Vladimir Zelensky, then spent a fortune trying to offset it so that the French don't get too angry. Looks like that hasn't worked out too well. But that's now come to an end. Same with all of the restrictions he put on daily life during COVID with QR codes and everything, and not being allowed to just go about your daily life normally, paying people and businesses to go along with his charade until he just couldn't pay them anymore. And the result of all that was that the economy was deregulated even before the conflict in Ukraine. And really, the French have been fed up with all of this since well before when he tried to squeeze a carbon tax out of people on car fuel that increasingly they could not afford already, sparking the Yellow Vest movement. So it's no wonder that Macron figured that calling an election would be a good idea when he must have also figured that all these other things were good ideas too.
Right, let's
and
look.
Once again,
it looks like
he
Sushak's
just may be
getting brought down from within his own party. Biden doesn't seem to be getting any
on our top story
help.
Today, the Iranian elections,
Macron seems
the
to be
country's interior
handing it to
minister
Le
has
Pen.
announced a runoff between Pezeshkian
It's
and
almost as if
Jalili
like
to be held
there's
on July 5th.
a hidden
That
hand
says
that
none of the
want all these
candidates were
right-wing
able to
crackpots to
secure
fucking
more
get
than
in.
a 50% +1 majority in Friday's poll.
And when I say that, I don't mean stammer.
Now, on the subject
was
of
the
Iran, the
precursor
Iranian
to
mission to
Nigel
the
Farage
UN
getting
has
in
warned
in
Israel that it will
2029.
face an obliterating war if it launches a full-scale attack against Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Albeit Iran deems as psychological warfare the Zionist regime's propaganda about intending to attack Lebanon, should it embark on full-scale military aggression, an obliterating war will ensue. All options, including the full involvement of all resistance fronts, are on the table.
This comes as the
Yeah,
IDF
baby.
says it has carried out attacks on several Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon in recent hours. The Israeli defense minister claims the government prefers to reach a political resolution with Hezbollah, but says Israel is ready for war if the Lebanese armed group wants conflict. According to the Israeli defense minister, he says that 450 Hezbollah militants have been killed since the start of hostilities. RT's
look
Middle
back,
East
man.
Bureau Chief Maria Fanoshina visited the northern Israeli city of Haifa, which has been marked by the Lebanese militant group as a target in the event of a military escalation.
Haifa, Israel's third largest city and busiest port, 30 kilometers from the Lebanese border, could be among the primary targets in the event of an all-out war with Hezbollah.
From this park on a Haifa hill, the beautiful Bay Area is at your fingertips. Israel's largest port is close by. The dock, ships coming in and out, cargo being loaded and unloaded. Roughly 20 million tons of goods pass through here annually. Drone footage recently released by Hezbollah shows this port as clearly as if they were right here. A stark reminder from the Lebanon-based militant group, we are watching you.
A nearly 10-minute video shows much of Haifa's civilian areas and also a detailed overview of the Rafael military-industrial complex, including its factories, warehouses and testing fields where Israeli defense systems are made. The port was also extensively filmed. If the video was meant to deter or intimidate, it clearly failed. Israel responded with even harsher rhetoric and increased preparations for war on its northern border.
I live up there and I have the port, in front of me all the time. So I open the curtains, I go, tonight? Is it happening tonight? Is it happening tonight? So we need to have a certain level of sarcasm, to deal with it.
Reem, an Israeli Arab from the Hadash party that promotes Jewish-Arab cooperation,
Imagine
believes the
staying
Israeli
somewhere.
leadership is the one pushing for war.
This government is already into war. This is the only guarantee for Netanyahu's political life, as shallow as it may seem. This is, unfortunately, the truth.
The Haifa mayor earlier complained that after Hezbollah released the drone footage, no one from the Israeli government called his office to assess the situation.
This is a fascist right-wing government that does not really care about civilians, about any civilians, not only about Palestinians or Lebanese, it doesn't care about its own civilians.
Prime Minister Netanyahu insists that both wars with Hamas and Hezbollah were imposed on Israel, but not everyone in the country agrees.
This is the lie that they have been feeding the citizens here, saying only by power, only by war shall we exist. Peace is the answer. Negotiations is the answer. Having a Palestinian state is the answer. But war will never be the answer.
When Hezbollah synchronized its attacks on Israel with Hamas after October 7, it said it would stop as soon as the war in Gaza ends. But as ceasefire talks have once again stalled, the worst seems more real than ever.
Israel wants this war. They will not say it openly because there will be many backlashes against them from abroad and also from here, from within, but they definitely want this war. They had many chances to avoid that, but they intentionally decided to move it even closer to the reality that we live in right now, where people are preparing for a doomsday situation.
Gaia, a Jewish anti-Zionist and anti-war activist from Haifa, remembers the 2006 war with Lebanon.
What's this? A self-hating Jew? This can't be. They're all in it together. Have you not read The Elders of Zion?
Things were pretty chaotic. My parents took me and my brother and they brought us
hangover
to the
is
center
really
of Israel
man.
because they were scared for our lives.
She feels that just like during the previous war, civilians will once again bear the highest cost.
Israel tries to show that they are not afraid of...
Do you know what I tried last night for the first ever time, man? This boy sitting in the boozer and he had these wee fucking... It's like a wee tin. You've probably seen them in that. I don't buy vapes for the shops and all that jazz, so those big multi-colour fucking things you get in the shop now with all the vapes and stuff. And I've always seen like these wee round tin things and I've wondered what the fuck they are. And the long and the short of it, it's these wee things, like I suppose you would call it like cotton wool, I suppose. And you fucking, and it's like this was mint and it's got tobacco in it. And you stick it up in your gum. I suppose it's a bit like chewing tobacco to an extent, but it's flavoured. See the fucking rush you get off it, man. Wowee. Now, bear in mind, I have not been near nicotine fucking in 4 years this September, I think that will be. And I suppose this is like a real quick hit, you know, it's like fucking right up in the gum. Wow. Fucking wee, man. See the... It's like fucking... I'm not even joking. It's up there with a wee patsy, man. I shit you not. Nah, I'm no. I was just thinking that I'm going to buy some next time I see them. But I'm not going to because it's just another addiction, man. Because it's fucking nicotine. But you're not... Obviously, you're not smoking it. You're just gumming it. Swear, man.
Of the Lebanon, they will not agree to make any deal with Hamas. They try to show their muscles, and eventually, who will pay the most because of this situation, this two-war situation?
You said
is the
coup.
civilians themselves.
Downtown Haifa appears normal, with shops and
Here
beauty
the coup,
salons
there the
open,
coup, everywhere the
restaurants
coup,
operating as
New
usual.
World Order,
Home to about 300,000 people, Haifa is a diverse city with various ethnicities,
with the coup
religions,
there and the
political
coup
views,
there.
and different
Here the
opinions
coup,
on
there the coup,
potential war
everywhere the
with
coup,
Hezbollah.
New World Order had a farm.
We can wake up tomorrow and feeling like in this 7 October.
The footage shown indicates that Hezbollah is psychologically
Well
playing
done,
with people's
GG,
fears.
5 weeks,
Nothing
mate.
more,
You
nothing
must
less.
be fucking...
The war is hard, but
See when I come off
we are here to stay.
the smoke,
We're not afraid from nobody.
initially I got
And
fucking
if you wanna
hyper as a
fight.
motherfucker,
If you
man.
want to shoot. Don't talk, Nasrallah, okay?
We ask shop owners on this vibrant
Oh,
street if
GG,
they have
mate.
bomb shelters they might
Stay off
need.
it, buddy.
Turns
Save
out
yourself
that
a
most
fortune
of them don't.
and
while some are concerned
retrain
about
yourself to have a good time without weed. You know?
Others believe
If you
they
can, if
won't
that's
be
what
a
you
need.
want. man.
They picture us, so what? So what? What can they do?
Smoking weed
Stand
isn't
one
big
day
or
we sell,
cover.
2 days we sell.
Take some money and fucking
And then we will destroy
turn you into
Lebanon.
a zombie.
There will be
man.
no more Lebanon.
On Wednesday, the Lebanese Prime Minister reiterated that his country is not interested in war with Israel. Global concerns over the escalation also grow, as the war would definitely impact the entire region. Even Israel's closest ally and longtime supporter.
Press TV's a bit like fucking the British press, they know it's just all election. Probably sprinkle a wee bit of Gaza death in there as well. Election, Gaza death. Election, Gaza death. We'll go back to RT for
the
a
US
different
has
flavour.
voiced concern, stating it will not be able to provide the same level of assistance against Hezbollah.
Hold on. Oh, there's no DVR. Fuck Sky News, get your fucking shit together, motherfuckers.
Spoken to those two British men.
There's no DVR.
And what the update was on that. Now, he actually said, and this is the first time we've heard this, he said that they are not relevant to the investigation or not important to the investigation. So he didn't say when he'd spoken to them, although we understand from previous statements that it was just before those two men left Britain. So they were the two men that Jay Slater stayed with on the night before he was reported missing. The Guardia Civil saying to us that those two men are not important to the investigation in the opinion of the police here in Tenerife. We've got some volunteers here. We've been speaking to one or two of the people who've come out, and you can have a listen to them explaining why they've come out here.
I have a son the same age, and so it touched my heart a little bit. I would like to that he is found, because it's already so many days, and for the family, I hope there are some news today.
So that's Livia. She lives around 40 minutes from here. And as she was saying, she felt compelled to come out because she has a son the same age as Jay Slater. Look, it's a difficult balancing act that the police have had, calling on volunteers to come out here today. They don't want people, coming out in flip-flops, unprepared for the kind of terrain that they'll encounter. They did say it needed to be experienced volunteers, and they want this search to be as organised and directed as possible by people who really know the area. I did speak to one of the volunteer firefighters who's out here today, who's been out doing the search over the last few days. I asked him if he had hope of finding Jay Slater, and he said he did have hope, but I have to say the expression on his face told a different story as he then went on to explain just how large the search area is and just how difficult the terrain. I think one thing that has improved since this morning when people were first gathering, this entire valley was shrouded in mist as people arrived. You couldn't really see a couple of metres ahead of you. At least that's now lifted. The sun's out, so the conditions have improved slightly. But this, the police saying, it should be the biggest search yet since British teenager, 19-year-old Jay Slater, disappeared. It was his phone last traced, as I say, to somewhere near here.
And quite a lot of time has passed since then, of course, Becky. For now, thank you very much.
It's all good shooting the shit about that story, and I'm quite happy to do it and stuff, right?
He is fit to win the US presidential election after criticism of his performance in that TV debate against Donald Trump.
Human beings
Republicans and
with a couple of brain cells to rub together. I would hate to propagate anything that what reached
at campaign rallies
the parents or family of that dude before we know one way or the other.
He's certainly no rocket
body
man
can
right
turn
now,
up, man.
but President Biden isn't going to be easily shaken from his perch.
We remain in a battle for the soul of America.
That much was clear from this fundraising event with Elton John and a speech at a rally in North Carolina.
I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
What Team Biden would have given for this energy on the debate stage. Instead, they got a performance widely branded a disaster. This was the verdict of the New York Times, one of the country's most influential newspapers. Mr. Biden has been an admirable president, the editorial board wrote. But the greatest public service Mr. Biden can now perform is to announce that he will not continue to run for re-election.
What? They're talking about golf. Yeah, I don't understand what Joe Biden's saying.
Across the states, people watched in disbelief.
You would be 82 at the end of your second term.
Generation TikTok's assessment of Generation Geriatric was withering.
I think it sounds like a drunk blackout conversation they're having at 3 a.m.
I think Joe Biden is cognitively declining, and I think he was never fit to be president, and I don't think he is now. And I think there's a clear, obvious answer to who is
TikTok
fit.
generation. What fucking
In this
world
part
have
of
we stepped
California,
into,
they
man?
voted
Seriously?
for Biden in 2020. but some are staggered by how much older he seems this time round.
How did it make you feel knowing that that's your choice if you want to vote Democrat?
Forlorn, not good, despairing.
Has President Biden's performance last night given you food for thought in terms of who you might vote for in November?
Clearly. Bad food for thought. Food poisoning.
There were votes of confidence from his two most recent Democratic predecessors, backing from Barack Obama, and this tweet from Bill Clinton. He wrote, "I'll leave the debate rating to the pundits, but here's what I know.
Gigi, I heard them talking
Joe
about
Biden has given us
cannibal
3
shit
years
and
of
all that as
solid
well, man.
leadership, all while pulling us out of the quagmire Donald Trump left us in. That's what's really at stake in November." Campaigning will continue for the president today. He might still be smiling, but questions over his fitness to lead.
That's him farting.
Mark Hanna, Sky News.
Back here it is, the final
Smiling.
weekend of campaigning before our general election, and parties are focusing on support for veterans on Armed Forces Day. The Shadow Defence Secretary John Healey pledged to legislate for an Armed Forces Commissioner to improve the lives of service personnel.
We will increase funding for defence to 2.5% of GDP. The last time Britain spent 2.5% on defence was in 2010 with Labour, and at that time the British Army was also over 100,000 strong and morale was at 60%. It's slumped since. British Army's been cut to its smallest size since Napoleon. So we will increase defence spending, but we'll also do more from day one to support our armed forces. So in the first legislative programme, the King's Speech, we will legislate for an independent Armed Forces Commissioner, a strong champion to improve service life. We'll set new standards, decent standards for military housing, and we will put fully into law the Armed Forces Covenant, which is the way that we ensure all those who serve and have served are treated fairly.
Security Minister Tom
Luton.
Tugendhat claims Keir Starmer
Sleepy
would
Joe
reverse
knows how
the
to tell the
Northern
truth. It
Ireland
just takes him
legacy
about
bill, which was
fucking
set up
10 years to
limit
say it.
criminal investigations into the conduct of former British soldiers during the Troubles.
The commitment that the Prime Minister has put in, making sure that we have a Cabinet Minister for Veterans Affairs, has been fantastic. You know, he's the only Prime Minister, he's the only candidate for Prime Minister who has made the commitment to keep it. And when you look at what Johnny has achieved, not just with Op Resolute and Op Courage, but also with the Northern Ireland Legacy Bill, you can see what's at risk, because Sir Keir Starmer is trying to reverse that. Now, that's not just bad for armed forces veterans, exposing them to the possibility of vexatious litigation, leaving them exposed many, many years after their service. But it's also bad for the people of Northern Ireland, because the ICICR, this new organisation that will look into historic allegations, is incredibly important for bringing resolution to some really terrible events that happened during the Troubles.
Well, let's get the latest now from our political correspondent, Serena Barker-Singh.
Yeah, it's the final weekend, as you say, and so things are really quite tense in the sense that no political party wants anything to go wrong. It's an Armed Forces Day today, so that naturally lends itself to leaders to be meeting with veterans. And I think two things you can really note from that. Firstly, that they're both Labour and Conservatives are strikingly similar in their messaging in the last weekend just before going into the week where people go to the polls in person. And for Labour, they are hoping to turn veterans who potentially have historically always looked to the Conservative Party. Now Labour want to reach out to them. And then for the Conservatives, they are dealing with potentially the D-Day debacle from Rishi Sunak and trying to make amends. So strikingly similar messages, and also in terms of areas where they're campaigning today, both Conservative strongholds, so also seemingly going for the same voters. Timing, though, is crucial in politics, and Reform are on the back foot after explosive Channel 4 reports. They are dealing with that today. I think for the Conservatives and Labour today, they're hoping that everything goes smoothly just before people think about who they're going to vote for next week.
That's Serena Barker-Singh. So throughout the general election campaign, we've been tracing where the parties have been targeting their attentions and spending their cash. With just a few days to go now, until polling day, of course, Tom Cheshire has been looking at the party's changing focus, both in person and online.
Campaigning is a long old slog, especially now at the end of week 5, or just how long we've been tracking the locations visited by party leaders. Now, the colour of the constituency correspond to which political party currently holds it. Blue for Tory, red for Labour. Now, Rishi Sunak's first campaign stop was here in the East Midlands. This is a seat that should be considered safe with a 22% Conservative majority, but one he thinks clearly could be vulnerable. Week 2, and in his first visit to the North East, Rishi Sunak was up in Redcar to launch his blue bus, a rare Labour visit. Week 3 went over to Grimsby, as did Keir Starmer. The week they both took part in Sky's Battle for Number 10 event. This is a key battleground because whoever wins there stands a good chance of winning overall. Now, many of these places over the latest 2 weeks were supposed to be Tory strongholds where you wouldn't normally need a leader's campaign. The same here, finally, this week, the Prime Minister took
I can see the
plate
press
at Denby Pottery
trying to
Derbyshire.
stir up
So at the start, the Tories were
excitement
targeting
and
relatively
drama
wide range of places, mostly
in
within
and
the
around
bounds
this
what
election
it was assumed they needed to
because
defend to prevent
the
a
system
Labour
itself
majority. That has now
understands
changed.
the
They've apparently taken on
absolute
extremely
apathy
defensive position,
people have
focusing on
towards
places
all
that
politics
once might have seemed
right now.
impregnable. Compare that to Labour, which
And they're
started with a
scared.
visit to Tory Derby
The system
South
is
in the
scared
East Midlands, and that shows the scale
of
of
a
their
very
boldness
low
out of the
turnout,
blocks, not
thus
shying
making
away
it harder
from the
for
places
them
with serious Conservative
to stand up in
majorities,
front of
or
us and
here
say that they
down
rule
Gillingham in
and
Kent.
govern
That's the sort of region that
by
only
consent.
Blair managed to conquer back in 1997. Week 2, Starmer joined Labour Deputy Leader Angela Rayner to launch her own battle bus in Boris Johnson's old constituency here, Uxbridge and South Ruislip. And Manchester Central was the launching pad for Labour's manifesto, so that was a rare visit to red home turf there, and another one the next week. But Starmer has visited seats held by his party only 3 times in his 23 stops. And this week, the Labour leader visited Bollington, one of Cheshire's market towns. That's another blue seat. So how does that physical schlepping around the country match up with the digital campaign? Well, throughout the campaign, we've been working with Who Targets Me, which tracks digital spending on political adverts. And this shows where the Conservatives have been spending their money. You can see the seats targeted by the Tories, that has decreased over time. But it's less a retrenchment or a retreat. Really, there's not much coherence here. Every seat seems to be sorting itself out. So there's a lot of variation. Now, Labour's a different story. They are targeting large swathes of the UK. You can see that here again over the week. It's a pretty blanket coverage. It shows how competitive they are all across the country. And the sorts of adverts being sorted up, served to people online, well, this is the sort of thing from the Tories. It's an attack advert on Labour. But Labour are also running their own attack adverts too. If we show you what that looks like, you've got the other side of things. Now, this is actually, again, it's fairly graphic. Sorry about that. This is actually fairly rare for Labour to run an attack advert like this. We've crunched the numbers. Labour have posted over 5,500 adverts, lots and lots and lots over the course of the campaign, but they're consistent in their message. They're backing themselves and they're backing this message. Change appears in 22% of their adverts. They only mention the Tories in 11% of them. Now compare that to the Conservative approach. On Meta, they've been running fewer ads. I mean, it's going to look like a lot again, but actually they're...
Meta.
Very much for joining us, first of all. We've talked a lot about term
Cannot.
or the more moderate
Relationships to have believed of the campaigning participants.
Question time. Mr. Farage suggested the video. Let's turn to the UK election now, and the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has insisted that secret filming, which caught one of the party's campaigners using racist language about the Prime Minister, was a setup. The video provoked condemnation from other party leaders. In a special edition of the BBC show Question Time, Mr. Farage suggested the video could have been arranged to smear his party. Our political correspondent Layla Nathu reports.
Did anybody watch that last night?
Nigel Farage.
The final weekend of the election campaign, and for one party leader, difficult questions are piling up.
What is it about you and your party that attracts racists and extremists, whether you say you want them or not?
I've done more to drive the far right out of British politics than anybody else alive. I took on the BNP just over a decade ago. I said to their voters, if this is a protest vote, but you don't support their racist agenda, don't vote for them, vote for me. And we destroyed them.
Nigel Farage was challenged last night over homophobic and racist remarks made by Reform UK canvassers, secretly recorded by Channel 4 News. One campaigner implied gay people were paedophiles, and another suggested army recruits should shoot at people crossing the channel in small boats, and used a racist insult to describe the Prime Minister. Mr. Farage insisted that man was an actor and described the Channel 4 report as a deliberate attempt to smear his party.
This was a comedy act, but it was designed to hurt us. And sadly, some people believe it. And let me promise you.
So who do you think would have done this, Nigel Farage?
I want nothing to do with people like him, and he has nothing to do with us. He's somebody who turned up, we didn't know who he was, and by sheer coincidence, he happened to get teamed up with Channel 4.
Elsewhere, Nigel Farage was questioned about his party's manifesto and how he would pay for his promises.
There's a lot of stuff in your manifesto, but how do you actually plan to pay for all this stuff?
We can comfortably save £30 billion a year by growing up and being sensible and recognising if we want carbon-free energy, reliable, not intermittent, carbon-free energy, the only way to go is small, modular nuclear reactors.
Also fielding questions on stage last night was someone whose views could not be more different. Adrian Ramsey, the co-leader of the Green Party.
I think we all know that we need to step up action on the climate crisis.
That's what a mangina sounds like.
That are already happening.
I think we all know I don't have any man parts.
Dreadfully if we
And
don't
look,
get
I've got
this.
my
He defended
magic
proposing to
political
raise some
wand
taxes
out.
in his party's manifesto.
We're talking about £5 extra a week for someone earning £55,000. Now, what would that get you? At the moment, people can't access an NHS dentist. And if you can afford to do so, you might be forking out for a private dentist. Well, how much does that cost you over a year? How much does it cost you over a year to pay extortionate train ticket prices because we're not investing in our railways, or to have to heat your home and see your bills going up and up every month because we've got the leakiest homes in Europe and we haven't insulated them? So we're setting out a different vision, Sonia, for where, yes, we ask those earning a little bit more to pay a little bit more, including the multimillionaires and billionaires, but it's about a different type of society.
The Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey, meanwhile, will finish his election campaign with a 5-day battle bus tour from John O'Groats to Land's End. All parties, the journey to polling day is nearly over. Leila Nathu, BBC News.
Well, let's stay with Reform UK and speak to our political correspondent, Damien Grammaticus, who's in the newsroom. So, Damien, first of all, what has reaction been to Nigel Farage's appearance on the Question Time programme last night?
Well, I think what's interesting, you see this morning politicians of the other parties out on the airwaves, and they are very much turning the focus onto Nigel Farage, his leadership, his party Reform UK, his activists, his candidates, and that is now what is in the spotlight. Now, they obviously have an interest to do that, but it's really quite uncomfortable, I think, for Mr Farage. So you have the Shadow Defence Secretary, Labour's John Healey. He's been out saying Nigel Farage's comments about this being a stitch-up and an act. Well, he says that he thinks those are just an attempt to distract, he said, from the fact that there are officials, candidates
See, if it was
on behalf
Charlie
of the
Beach
Reform
that filmed
Party
it.
that have been responsible for racist, anti-gay, other
I'd have believed it was a
defensive
stitch-up.
statements.
Who knows,
so
man?
Mr Healey says that, you know, this is a question for Nigel Farage, a question of leadership and how he deals
I think
with
you'd
this.
be naive to
And he
think
said
these
he needs
things
to get a
don't
grip,
go
and he's
on.
failing to do that at the minute. Nigel Farage, of
Whether
course,
it was
said,
the
well,
case this
he
time,
has
who
nothing
knows?
to do with these people. But remember, it's not just this one individual, Andrew Parker, who had a racist slur about the Prime Minister. There are others who were caught on camera too.
Which
In the
suggestions
Question Time
that,
debate
Gigi?
last night, Nigel
Talk
Farage seemed
TV.
to distance himself
Well,
from
I
three
called them
candidates.
talk in the bin now
The
because
questions there will be, well, what does that
they ain't
mean?
on the TV.
How far is that distance? So more questions from Mr Farage on that. And in the undercover filming by Channel 4, there was something else too. There was another individual who apparently is closer to Nigel Farage who had made anti-gay comments. So what about that individual? That's not someone who was just Nigel Farage saying this one case was someone who had walked into the office as an actor. Now, the Conservative position on this too is interesting. So we've heard from them as well. Tom Tugendhat, Security Minister, he has also been saying, you know, this needs to focus people's attention on what sort of a party and members Reform UK actually is. And that, for the Conservatives, is a useful message for them, if you like, at this stage, because they are facing considerable electoral threat from voters deserting them, going to Reform. And this gives them an opportunity to say, consider that, consider what you are voting for if you do that. Nigel Farage, you heard him saying, vote for me as a protest vote. The Conservatives here, I think with this, it enables them to try and put a squeeze electorally on Reform and get people to think hard about their choices.
Damien, thank you very much. That's our political correspondent, Damien Grammaticus, in our newsroom. And you can see the full list of candidates in the Clacton constituency on the BBC website, as well as full coverage ahead of Thursday's general election.
Look before this.
The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, is in Hampshire, along with the Shadow Defence Secretary, John Healey, where they're attending a Veterans Coffee Morning to mark Armed Forces Day. Our political correspondent, Harry Farley, is following the Labour election campaign and joins us now. So, Harry, what are we expecting Sir Keir Starmer to say today?
I bet you GB News are saying it as well. Nigel Farage,
a bit of a feature of Sir Keir Starmer's campaign over the last few weeks, visiting lower league football clubs in different parts of the country. I'm not actually allowed to tell you exactly where we are because Sir Keir Starmer has, in the last few minutes, arrived here, and the Labour Party, for security reasons, they say, have asked us not to reveal his precise location until he leaves. But as you say, he's here to.
I am pretty sure somebody who knows that football stadium will know exactly where you are.
With some military veterans, and obviously traditionally a demographic that often votes Conservative in their majority. And Sir Keir Starmer here making a very clear pitch for military veterans.
The BBC made the point there that there was
for those who are concerned about the armed forces.
Two quotes for two people, one of them being Nigel Farage's pal, if you want.
What they would do with their armed forces commissioner. I went through it and I counted 11 times.
It wouldn't surprise me either way.
Serve or service, saying that
people in and around reform
is the ultimate public service.
Making those kind of comments. I mean, those kind of comments, man. Who hasn't heard them getting fucking said off the cuff,
about their
like
armed forces commissioner, which they say they would give powers to inspect and report
doesn't make them Hitler.
on issues affecting the armed forces.
And on the other hand, there's people out there with a dog in the fight to harm reform as much as they can.
For example, Labour have said that they want to get to 2.5.
Now, that's all for today. I'm going to do the off. I think I'm actually going to go back to my bed. The hangover's kicking in. And I'll more likely than not do one tomorrow morning as well, if I'm up and about, which is probably going to be the case. So remember, if you enjoy the Daily PoliTITS, give it a wee thumbs up, share it with your friends, your family and your foes, help the channel grow. And if you like politics but are sick of the tits, then get your fix from the Daily PoliTITS. Something like that. GG Unicorn Luton. Thanks for joining y'all. Have a nice weekend. Special Forces and Snowy Owl. And Hasdak. Thanks a lot. Guys and gals, have a nice weekend. If I don't see you tomorrow, see you Monday. Get it? Got it? Good. Catchies. No cats. Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.